it's really the people that make the difference in any successful company. And it's super important to have the right management team in place. There does potentially seem to be a vertical zonation with silver increasing towards surface. So that was a little bit of a surprise, although it's not totally uncommon in these types of systems, but certainly nice to see and something that we'll be watching for as we get into the drilling stage. The fact that we've delineated the main vein for about 1,600 meters along strike so far. We have the underground workings to work from, and with all of that and the plant that we can rebuild quickly, we can really fast track this towards production. And with today's metal prices, that's really what we're focused on doing and trying to get to a cash flow situation as quickly as we possibly can.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this live Pinnacle Silver and Gold event. Just a quick reminder that this event is being recorded and the replay will be made available shortly after we conclude here today. If you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the chat box, which can be found in the bottom right corner of your screen. With the housekeeping out of the way, today we're joined by Robert Archer, President and CEO, to discuss the latest news regarding the additions to the management team. Robert, you mentioned being excited to work with both Carlos and Jorge again from your time at Great Panther Silver. Can you tell us more about what you learned working together previously and why reuniting this team felt like the right move for El Potrero?
Hi, Kyle. Well, yeah, as you're well aware, and most investors are, just to emphasize the fact that it's really the people that make the difference in any successful company. And it's super important to have the right management team in place. And, that goes not just at the at the corporate, the executive level, but all the way down, and particularly at the operations level. So, Carlos worked for me for in two different stints. I would say I think 7 or 8 years in Mexico, and I think I can confidently say he was the best mine manager that that we had. And at that time, Carlos was running a 1,000-ton per day gold silver operation in central Mexico with many hundreds of people working for him, and so he's certainly well experienced and competent enough to handle this project. And Jorge, similarly, as exploration manager for Great Panther, worked for the team down there for about 7 years as well. And Jorge was as a professional geologist, a PGO. He's certainly qualified to put together resources and that sort of thing. So as well as both individuals have strong leadership capabilities. So as we continue to build, they'll be building the team under them, on an as needed basis. So it's great to have them on board, and again, it emphasizes just that 100% Mexican team that's super important as well in terms of building a corporate culture and being able to relate to local communities and government authorities and so on. So I think all in all, it's a great step forward.
Now, Carlos has an impressive track record, including building a 300-ton per day processing plant in just 7 months at Rochester Resources. How does his experience align with Pinnacle's vision to bring in El Potrero into production?
Well, Potrero is a relatively small operation. It's probably going to be about 100 tons per day to begin. And so, as I mentioned, Carlos is used to actually running, plants and mines that are, in the order of 1,000 tons per day. So, and then the one that he did for Rochester, building that at 300 tons in a relatively short time frame. So, to put together 100-ton per day plant with an infrastructure that's already in place. The foundations there, all the framework and everything, and we'll just have to replace the mechanical equipment and pumps and electrical and so on. So it's not even a complete build up from the ground up. It's a rebuild, and so it should be that much easier. So having that experience in the past will certainly make sure that Carlos is certainly experienced enough to handle El Potrero in the time frame that we want to get it done.
Jorge and the geological team have already collected over 1,000 samples at the site. What are some of the early insights emerging about the mineralization controls, and what has surprised you most about what the team is discovering?
I think, yeah, most of those samples that we've taken have been underground from the existing workings. So it's been really important to put all that together and get a better understanding of the extent of the mineralization, the style of the mineralization, and how it occurs. So it's been really important to build that database and putting all that together in a three-dimensional model. So that will be critical when it comes to drilling, underground drilling, as well as from surface. So hopefully that'll be able to start fairly soon. But I think in terms of surprises, something that we still need some more information, but just seeing that it appears that there's a bit of a vertical zonation where silver grades are increasing towards surface, because of all the samples that we've taken, and I think this had over 700 underground and over 300 on surface. The highest underground sample we've had in terms of silver values has been about 520 grams, whereas on surface we've had several over 1,000 grams, and the highest 2,280. So it's there does potentially seem to be a vertical zonation with silver increasing towards surface. So that was a little bit of a surprise, although it's not totally uncommon in these types of systems, but certainly nice to see and something that we'll be watching for as we get into the drilling stage.
Now, El Potrero has been in private hands for nearly 40 years without systematic modern exploration. Can you walk us through what this means for Pinnacle's opportunity here? What potential do you see that others may have missed?
Well, it's the opportunity, I think, is just the fact that the mineralization has never been drilled off. So uh, when it was in production before, it was just, I guess, artisanal in scale, really, and so they were just basically following the vein, and there was no real understanding of the grade distribution or what they were actually mining. So what we're doing now is getting a better understanding of the overall system, and because it goes far beyond just a single vein and just a few small underground workings. So we're putting together the whole package and and laying out a mine plan where we can be producing on a consistent basis. So I think there's lots of upside here. The fact that we've delineated the main vein for about 1,600 meters along strike so far. We have the underground workings to work from, and with all of that and the plant that we can rebuild quickly, we can really fast track this towards production. And with today's metal prices, that's really what we're focused on doing and trying to get to a cash flow situation as quickly as we possibly can. So, I think that's and in all fairness, that situation with the high metal prices is something that just didn't exist in previous years. So it's not so much as a missed opportunity, but the fact that no one has been able to take advantage of that until now certainly creates an opportunity for us that didn't exist before.
And what's the timeline you're envisioning from where you are today to actual production?
Well, much of that is out of our control, unfortunately, because it comes back to permitting. But we are already engaged with the authorities on that, and we can move forward in parallel on certain fronts with different ministries and so on. So, for example, we're talking to the environmental authorities regarding surface work and rebuilding the camp and the plant, surface drilling, those kinds of things. That's all with the group called Semernat, and but at the same time, we can be moving forwards with the water authorities to get a water license, and then with the Federal Electrical Commission on extending the power line. So these are all things that are working in parallel right now, but to a large degree out of our control time wise. But based on the experience of our environmental team and lawyers and so on. And then, knowing that we should be able to put the plant back in shape in, let's just say less than a year. If we can do it in 6-7 months, that would be great. But so overall, I'm conservatively looking at a 2-year time frame, and which would put us, towards the end of 2027.
Now, El Potrero sits within 35 kilometers of 4 operating mines in the Sierra Madre Occidental. How does the proximity influence your development strategy, whether in terms of infrastructure, talent, or operational insights?
Well, I think it influences all of those things. We fly into Topia, which is a mining town in its own right, and the Topia mine is right there, and so that's we just drive. It's an hour and a half drive from there around to El Potrero. So we have that as infrastructure. Topia is a great source of mining contractors, skilled labor, equipment, supplies, all of that sort of thing. So it's great to have Topia there for that. And then just, in terms of the infrastructure, our project is road accessible. We have a power line within 3 kilometers that will be extending through to the project eventually. And knowing that it is a high grade district with 4 other operating mines around us speaks to the geology and the geological potential. So as a geologist myself, that's something that I'm looking at on a regional scale, and knowing that there are other projects within the district that we might be able to strap on as satellites or additional projects. So looking at that aspect of it as well, and if those other projects could have some synergies with El Potrero, then that's obviously going to be a bonus going forward. So that's something that we're looking at, on the regional scale as well.
Now, also looking at the bigger picture, you have both El Potrero projects in Mexico and their Gozi gold mine in Ontario's Red Lake district. Gold has been on quite a run. How do you see these two projects complementing each other in Pinnacle's overall growth strategy?
Well, I mean, they sort of complement each other in the sense that Argosy is a past producing mine as well, and there's a lot of potential to build that resource out, and ultimately get that back in production. But you're not going to do that within a 2-year time frame in Ontario, and so we're very focused on Mexico right now, to try and get that up and running. And I would like to get back into the other projects in the Red Lake area, and I think they do have potential to improve those and build those up, but it's not something that'll be done in the immediate term. I'm hoping that we might be able to get in there and do some drilling next year sometime in 2026, but for now the focus is definitely on El Potrero.
Robert, thank you for the update. We always appreciate it. Until next time, but thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Likewise. Thanks, Carl.